When education isn't enough, the revolutionary act of building new rooms. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Jennifer Heslop, a visionary whose work has fundamentally transformed how we understand the intersection of race, gender, and economic opportunity in America. Jennifer isn't just an advocate, she's an architect of new possibilities. Her groundbreaking research and fearless truth telling have illuminated the hidden barriers that persist despite educational achievement, while her mentorship has empowered countless women to forge paths where none existed before. Through her work, Jennifer has not only documented inequality, she has reimagined what equality might actually look like in practice. What I'm about to share with you today might make you uncomfortable. It might challenge what you believe about how our society works. And that's exactly what it should do. Here's a startling truth that emerged from my conversation with Jennifer. Despite Black women being the most educated demographic in America, they remain drastically underrepresented in leadership roles across virtually every sector of our economy. Let that sink in for a moment. The group with the highest educational attainment is simultaneously the group least likely to occupy positions of power and influence. This isn't just a statistical anomaly, it's a profound contradiction that reveals something fundamental about how opportunity actually works in our society. We've been told a story about education, a comforting narrative that goes something like this: get your degree, work hard, climb the ladder, success will follow. It's a clean, linear progression that makes intuitive sense. It feels fair, it feels American. But for Black women, this narrative consistently fails to match reality. And this failure isn't subtle, it's glaring, it's systemic, it's persistent. What Jennifer helped me understand is that we're witnessing something remarkable happening in response to this disconnect. When traditional systems fail to reward educational achievement with proportional opportunity, Black women aren't simply accepting defeat, they're creating entirely new pathways to success. Between 2017 and 2024, the number of businesses owned by Black women increased by over 40%, making them one of the fastest growing entrepreneurial demographics in America. By 2024, nearly 2.7 million businesses were owned by Black women in the United States. This isn't just impressive growth, it's a profound statement about resilience and necessity. These entrepreneurs aren't just pursuing a dream. Many are responding to a system that has consistently denied them access to traditional avenues of advancement. As Jennifer eloquently put it during our interview, the narrative isn't just about breaking glass ceilings, it's about building entirely new rooms when we're excluded from existing ones. This reframes entrepreneurship among Black women not simply as an expression of ambition, but often as an act of survival and self determination. When doors remain closed despite credentials, creating your own door becomes not just an option, but an imperative. Consider the story of Maya, a brilliant software engineer with multiple advanced degrees who repeatedly watched less qualified colleagues, none of whom looked like her, receive promotions she was denied. After the third such instance, Maya didn't file another fruitless complaint. She launched her own tech consultancy, which now employs 15 people and serves clients across 3 continents. Or take Kendra, who completed her MBA with honors only to find herself consistently relegated to support roles while her male classmates moved quickly into strategic positions. Today, her financial services firm manages over $100 million in assets, primarily for other women entrepreneurs who recognize the value of working with advisors who understand their unique challenges. These aren't isolated success stories. They represent a pattern, a movement of women who have transformed exclusion into innovation. The implications of this insight extend far beyond any single demographic group. They force us to question our most basic assumptions about how opportunity functions in our society. We like to believe that credentials are the great equalizer, that education creates a level playing field where talent and hard work determine outcomes. But the data tells a different story. In 2025, research revealed that while progress has been slow overall on gender pay equity, racial disparities remain especially stark for Black women. Despite decades of advocacy, the uncontrolled gender pay gap remains at roughly 83 cents per dollar earned compared with men. And this gap actually worsens over time rather than improving with age and experience. Young Black female professionals see slightly better ratios early in their careers, but encounter widening gaps mid career, precisely when leadership opportunities and significant compensation increases should be materializing. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Black professional women face what experts call glass walls, occupational segregation that channels them away from the highest paying sectors and roles. They encounter motherhood penalties that disproportionately affect their career progression and paychecks. And they navigate workplaces where lack of transparency around compensation structures makes addressing these disparities nearly impossible. The result is a system where educational achievement fails to translate into proportional economic opportunity or professional advancement. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. In the face of these barriers, Black women aren't simply accepting the status quo, they're transforming it. They're building networks that support other marginalized entrepreneurs. They're shifting narratives around what entrepreneurship can look like. They're contributing significantly to local economies across America. And they're creating models of leadership that challenge traditional hierarchies and prioritize community impact alongside profit. This isn't just adaptation, it's innovation born of necessity. And it's changing the economic landscape of America. Following the 2024 elections, we saw this same pattern of innovation and resilience in the political sphere. More racially diverse groups, including increased numbers of Black female legislators, set records at state levels nationwide. These gains didn't happen by accident. They resulted from targeted recruitment and training initiatives led by advocacy organizations that have helped propel more qualified candidates into races and offices previously dominated almost exclusively by men and white counterparts. The impact extends far beyond symbolic representation. Greater visibility and policy influence on issues uniquely affecting represented communities creates an incremental normalization and inspiration effect, encouraging future generations towards civic engagement and public service ambitions. Yet, despite these record setting increases, representation still lags significantly behind proportional population figures, according to US Census data. The gap between presence and population remains substantial. What Jennifer helped me understand through our conversation is that these three phenomena, educational achievement, without proportional professional advancement, entrepreneurship, driven by exclusion rather than just opportunity, and political representation that remains disproportionately low despite record gains are all connected by a common thread. They reveal that our systems aren't neutral arbiters of merit. They contain structural bias that persists despite individual achievement. And they demonstrate that credentials alone cannot overcome systemic barriers. But they also reveal something profoundly hopeful: the extraordinary capacity for innovation, resilience, and community building that emerges when traditional pathways fail. This isn't just a story about obstacles, it's a story about transformation. When Jennifer speaks about Black women entrepreneurs, she doesn't focus solely on what they've overcome. She emphasizes what they've created: new business models, new approaches to leadership, new definitions of success that prioritize community impact alongside individual achievement. These innovations don't just benefit their creators, they expand our collective understanding of what's possible. They challenge outdated paradigms and they create new opportunities for everyone. This brings me to the heart of what I learned from Jennifer. When we talk about equity and opportunity, we need to move beyond simplistic narratives about individual achievement. We need to examine the systems that determine whose achievements are rewarded and whose are overlooked. But we also need to recognize and celebrate the extraordinary innovations that emerge when people refuse to accept exclusion as the final word on their potential. The rise of Black women owned businesses isn't just a response to discrimination, it's a reimagining of what entrepreneurship can look like. It's an expansion of what leadership can be, and it's creating economic opportunities that wouldn't otherwise exist. Similarly, the increasing representation of Black women in state legislatures isn't just about claiming seats at existing tables. It's about changing what happens at those tables. It's about expanding the scope and perspective within policymaking bodies, shaping everything from economic opportunity legislation to healthcare reform. These aren't just victories against bias, they're transformations that benefit our entire society. So I leave you with this challenge, inspired by my conversation with Jennifer Heslop. What room will you build when the existing ones fail you? What door will you create when the established ones remain closed? How will you transform your exclusion into innovation? Because the true revolution isn't just in breaking barriers, it's in creating entirely new structures that render those barriers obsolete. It isn't in fighting for a seat at a table that wasn't designed for you, it's in building a new table where everyone can thrive. This is the radical promise embedded in Jennifer's work, that our deepest frustrations can become our most powerful catalyst for change. That in the spaces where systems fail us, we can build something more just, more inclusive, and more human. The question isn't whether you'll encounter barriers, the question is what you'll build when you do. Thank you.